The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. What has caught your attention in the automotive world?
Well, there's been a lot of talk within our industry, our parts suppliers and all that, about prices as they might change with recent changes out there. Mm-hmm. The SEMA show has gotten into talking about some changes, and something I found interesting that made perfect sense to me. When we started, the United States, we started making auto parts outside of the United States borders in the late 80s, early 90s, things like that. What was the main reason for that? What would be the first thing that comes to your mind?
What, money. Someone got a bunch of money.
Because it was cheaper to make those parts over there and then sell them here, right? So there's more profit in it. As they've tracked these things over the years, same thing that happens when you got a guy cutting your lawn and he's done it for 10 years and it's X amount of dollars a week. Some new guy comes along and says, or like your new internet carrier, hey, we'll do that for 25% less. As time goes by, it gets a little more and a little more and a little more. And before you know it, you're paying more than what you would have paid your original lawn mowing guy. So they've tracked this, and the price of auto parts that used to be cheaper overseas now is more. Look at, Shannon, for instance, a shipping container. If it was cheaper, it was great until that shipping container went up tenfold to get it here.
Yeah, they've came back down, but they're not.
But they're still crazy money.
Yeah.
Now, when SEMA was looking at it and those other people looking at it, they're like, hey, if we build them in the United States now, it's not more expensive. It's like the same price. So we're going to see how it shakes out with the cost of things, because oil filters are typically, we get a lot of them made in Mexico and Canada. Not a lot of China on oil filters, but we got a lot of those out. Brake rotors and stuff, tons of those are coming, China, metal, things like that. So overall, we're saying don't worry yet too much about what the price of auto parts could be. We could just get some better quality steel made in the United States at the same amount of money, unless people here decide that they want to raise those prices just to do it. So I have a lot of customers. This has been on their minds for a couple of weeks now. How much is my price is going to go up? Well, it doesn't look like currently it's going to go up a lot, but I've also seen getting feedback from friends of mine in other states. People are already raising their prices of oil change.
That's what I was just going to say. I'm already getting notices from places saying our rates are up because of this.
Yeah.
That haven't even happened yet.
Right.
I don't think they're going to go back down probably if we get past it a month.
It's like gas speculation. It's like, they might go up, so let's raise it now, because we don't want to lose anything when it comes.
Let's do it now while it's top of mind.
Yeah, we have a great opportunity to raise prices right now.
Exactly.
And even if they don't go up, it'll be better for us.
Let's raise the price of the show.
Yeah, for double free?
Yeah.
We're going to
double the price.
100% increase, double free.
That's ridiculous. 25%.
25?
Let's go with 25.
So only 25% freer.
Yeah.
Free for
free. It's just one
free?
extra. Yeah.
Free. For free.
For free.
Stick with us. You can save money. We'll help you avoid some of those high costs.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show.
I've got a question here from Chris, who sent a question in the most unique way that I've had a question asked yet. Okay.
Okay.
Are you curious about that at least?
Yes.
All right. This is Chris, and Chris is from Cars, and he's a listener of ours. We know up in Minnesota, and he buys parts from Nordstrom's as a regular customer.
Okay.
So when he paid his statement, he sent a paid bill with a question on it.
Okay. I like that.
And it was typed in along with comments about the show that came with his
Okay.
statement. Now, I don't get all these statements. We have like
Sure.
hundreds of statements that go out. So I don't look at all the statements. But our Alyssa in the office said, she goes, I think you might want to see this one. And so it says, hello, first off, and thank you for the goodie box, because he had won a hoodie, got a hoodie. My dad stopped by. Here's the question. He took my one Jeep to his shop. In cleaning out my Jeep, I found the picture of my bailout car. Maybe there's more stuff on there. Maybe you'd have an idea what's going on with it. It's a 2000 Grand Cherokee with a 4-liter. So that'd be the inline 6-cylinder. The oil pressure was all over the place, and then nothing one time when I was driving to church. Scared me. Scared's in capital letters.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to read it with dramatic here.
Right. Good
Scared
job.
me. So I pulled it out, pulled it to home shop, put a mechanical gauge on it. Then the oil pressure came back. I was driving it for a week with a mechanical gauge duct taped to the windshield. Yeah, it was all over the place and dropped with no noise, no lifter noise, nothing. So I dropped the pan and put a new high-volume oil pump in it and had the same result. Do you have any suggestions? My dad picked it up here in Marshall and drove it to St. Leo to his shop. The dash gauge showed 45 pounds the whole trip there, I guess. So what do you think?
A mechanical gauge dropped to 0.
Yeah,
He
that's-
replaced the pump and it still dropped to 0.
Yeah, he says, yep.
If the pump's turning, it's got to have oil pressure. It sounds like it may have a blockage in that system somewhere that's not allowing the pressure to go through, because it should be noisy if it really did lose oil pressure.
Yeah, you'd get especially on a inline 6, you would get clatter like crazy
Yeah.
if the top end wasn't getting proper oil.
Yeah, and you got a new oil pump. That's a weird one. for
So
sure.
I think what I would do, if you haven't done it already, is get some Justice Brothers oil system cleaner.
yeah,
And is there a port on there that you could pressurize with some cleaner from down by the oil filter on there to blow through?
there's oil ports on there. You could push stuff through and then change your oil, because you got to get it out of there. And if you're running cleaner through, you're going to have to crank it without the engine running to get oil pressurized running through to wash out all the stuff from the system, so you've got fresh oil around those bearings before you fire it up.
And if you're not seeing debris or babbitt in the oil or whatever it might happen to be, maybe there's just a single chunk of something, like you said, that's just back and forth getting caught in the port near the oil pressure gauge.
Just like in my sink, my utility sink.
You have something like that going on?
Yeah. I got pieces of sponge that I occasionally have to fish out of there.
How'd
Be
that get in
very
there?
quiet. I'm hunting babbits.
What's Babbitt?
What's like bearing?
Wascally Babbitt.
Is that the right term? Isn't that like off of the bearings? You get
Babbitt is what I have in my Model T, so you're going back a long way.
Well, I just
It's
threw the
poured.
term.
It's poured in. The original meaning of it. Yeah, it was a poured bearing.
But isn't there Babbitt on crankshaft bearings?
There is
Am I like
many different.
Am I getting
metals
that
used for
old that
but-
that's
Yeah,
all I
if
can
you're-
remember is the oldest thing
Some
about
of
a
those
bearing?
terms have been adopted. You know, what an original term was and what it meant has changed over the years. So we still call
I
it
think
this.
Jerry
like we say,
Ross at
roll-up
J&L
windows.
Machine was at Dakota Auto Parts was the first person that told me about Babbitt on a bearing, and it stuck in my
Just
head.
stuck in there for
Stuck hard.
30 years and popped up today.
It's the technically it would be the covering, the coating that you see that is on the bearing, where it was 100% poured before. Now it's a metal bearing with a coating on it.
Interesting.
I think you're okay.
I
It could
feel
be.
I
Yeah.
feel fine.
Yeah.
We got you.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here. We're going to Louisiana when we come back, and we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Vaughn in Louisiana. Vaughn, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic.
I've got great. I've got a 2006 Chevy Avalanche with a 350. It's been a great truck. It's got almost 200,000 miles on it, but it runs fine. And about 5 months ago, it started draining the battery when it was just sitting. And we kind of go back and forth, and I don't use it all the time, but anything over 4 days, and it would drain the battery dead. So we replaced the first battery, which wasn't that old, but I thought, well, it was bad. The first brand new battery, it did the same thing, and it discharged enough that I had to get another battery. So I'm like my third battery, and with nothing plugged into the cigarette lighters, the ignition off, if it's 4 or 5 days, I come back and the battery's dead.
And that's without using the vehicle.
Correct. If I use it, every day, every other day, it's okay, but you use it, it charges it back up. But if it sits for more than about 4 days, something discharges the battery.
And have you went out and have you snuck around it at night to see if anything is aglow?
Sneak up on it.
Yeah. Like that wabbit.
This is not going to go away.
Yeah. We're not recently, no.
Well, I mean, we do tell people that is an obvious thing you can do is when it's
without your key fob.
Yeah.
Don't put that in your pocket.
Well, 06, he's got just a clicky system to open the doors, but that it's going to try to communicate with the vehicle. But just at night, just walk out there and walk around it and see if you see anything. Poke your head. Don't open the doors. Just look through the windows. See if there's anything aglow. Look at the radio. Look at the dashboard. That's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
If the vehicle has a multi-disc CD changer in it, common problem.
Unplug it.
Just pull the radio out and unplug it and see if you have your problem yet, because they can start cycling when they're jammed. Does it happen to have one of those in there?
No, it doesn't have a changer.
Okay. Does it have just a single CD
It's got
player?
a player, but it doesn't have a changer.
I still
Yeah,
wouldn't.
that's how
I
it's
still wouldn't rule it out as a place to try an easy thing to do.
Or even pull the radio and that, disconnect both of them and see if you still have a drain. That's the doing it at home without tools trick.
That's the low hanging fruit.
The tools trick is to get yourself out a multimeter with an amp meter in it, not voltage. Ignore that completely. And then latch all those doors, open them all up, latch all the doors so there's no drain there, and put that amp meter in line, give it 20 minutes to go to sleep, and start pulling fuses one at a time until the drain goes away, and hope that it has a drain when you hook it up.
That's the thing. He's going to hook it up and there's going to be nothing except every few days.
19 out of 20 that come into our shop that they say there's a drain, when I test it, there is no drain. And then it may sit out there for a week, and I go and start it up, and they say, well, we'll come next week and get it. I go out there and start it up. They get home, turn it off, and 20 minutes later, it's dead again. I'm going to bring it back. I'm like, don't bring it back. It's not good. It's not there. So with the electronic systems, they can just activate and cause it to drain when it's random. But you may have a real drain that's there all the time.
Yeah. So what am I putting the amp meter to?
You are going in line with either the positive cable or the negative cable. It doesn't care because the current's going to flow whenever there's a drain. So the way you have to do it, though, you got to be careful with it because you could have a big drain. We start with the amp meter on high on the 10 amps, and we're hoping that it's not more than 10 amps or you're going to blow the fuse in your meter.
And where are we putting it? Where are we?
In line, either on the positive or the negative.
I don't know what that means.
You take you take the cable off, and you put the meter in line with your cable.
Okay,
either one of them.
But you need a jumper wire. So, Chris, here's what you do: you connect usually we'll go on the ground side because it's easier for us, and we will connect one of our ends little alligator clips to the battery negative terminal, and then we'll clip one to a good ground on the vehicle, so I don't have to worry about connecting the cable. And then I pull that cable off, and I let the vehicle go to sleep with the cable removed. Now I'm putting my amp meter in line in between, and it's not going to do anything because I still have the jumper connected. But once that car has been to sleep for, let's say, 20, 30 minutes, then I'm going to remove that cable, the little jumper I have in there, so that everything's flowing through my meter. If I were to just remove the cable and let it go to sleep and then take my amp meter and hook it up directly in between, everything's going to be awake in the car, and I'm going to burn out the fuse in my meter right away. So you've got to have it go to sleep with that low current running through with your little jumper, and then remove it. You'll have to watch a YouTube video and see how it's done. But that's the simple of it too. You get down to where you can actually measure the problem. It's your X-ray. You measure the problem, and then you find out where you're losing current by removing systems one at a time. And remember, when you disable a system, you're going to have to remember where that fuse went back in and leave it disabled, because if there's no current drop, when you plug it back in, everything's going to wake up again.
Okay.
And that can burn out the meter fuse again. So we pull that fuse and say, okay, 10 amp in fuse spot 25, write it down, set it aside.
And write it down.
15 amp, fuse number 17.
It's handy with the Avalanche because there's the battery, and then right next to the battery is the
fuse box.
Fuse box.
Yeah, and there's two.
Yeah, there's one of the dash too.
On the end of the dash on the driver's side. But, most of the time we find the problem under the hood.
Show.com.
Okay.
I was just going to say that.
I did, and Russ says it doesn't work very well, but I did buy a meter with an inductive clamp on it. And when I was working on that Camry, it would measure it. I could see it, but I couldn't figure out the problem. I could see the current drain.
And those inductive probes, in our experience, work very well, but when you get into a very small amount like that,
that's what you'd said.
It has always worked better for us connecting.
That's the tried and true method. What you said, but when they come to your house and they're putting the clamp over the meter to check amps and stuff,
that's working.
Yeah.
When we're talking about
little amps, we're
30 amps or more. Yeah. You can see what's flowing there. I use that all the time, and I don't have a problem with that. But when I'm trying to measure 200 milliamps to 1 amp draw, I like to.
What we need is one of those things like the blue thing that the phone guys used to have, where they could just go near the wire and hear the conversation. You could hear the whole conversation on there.
I've got one right behind the wall.
Perfect.
We use it for studio.
Let's do it in the car, and so it'll just be like CD player's jammed. Won't it? If you touch it, it'll just tell you where the draw is. I think that's how it works. Vaughn, good luck. Thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Harold in Kansas. Harold, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Well, I've got a 2010 Ford F-150 pickup truck, and that's only got around 99,000 miles on it. Really good shape, but all of a sudden, on the dash, it keeps popping up. Back two doors are ajar. They're not closed, basically, and so I've got out several times, open them up and shut them. I've even sprayed some lubricant on the hinges, and, the door locks to make sure that stuff there isn't wrong, and just wanted to find out what kind of a fix would take care of that.
And it's
is a sensor or what?
Is it both back doors at the same time?
They are right now, but at one time it's say right side or left side. It would pop back and forth.
So it wasn't just instantly that both doors were given the signal. You had fluctuation between the two.
Right.
Because if they both would have came right at the same time,
that's what
I would be looking for some wiring issue back there. But since they fluctuated when they came on and off, I start thinking a little more, and Russ is giving me some weird eyebrows, but I'd be thinking a little bit more about the sensors inside the totally integrated latch more so than the wiring. But I'll let Mr. Evans, with the look he's giving me, I don't know if I should continue.
No
I kind of feel like I should walk out of the room.
Wesley Webb, it's been gnawing on the wires. We have seen so many wiring problems on those back doors, and they stock that wiring, a little short foot-long wiring
that's something
harness
he knew that I didn't. I was going generalities.
At Ford. I haven't looked it up yet. I'm surprised. Every time I go to our partner at Dorman Products, I'm like, whoa, you sell that? Well, I should look. So every time I know I need something, and it's a very common part you can buy at Ford because it's on their shelf all the time, I go over to Dorman, because if they don't make it today, it's in R&D and it's coming out tomorrow, soon. But look at that. Try Dorman first because
DormanProducts.com.
Yeah, they'll fix the problem that the OEM had, whereas the OEM is just going to keep building that same product typically. But the harness that goes in through that door, the wires will start to break from age moving back there. So that's why they sell the whole thing. And then once it breaks, it kicks the light on.
He's about to tell us that he never uses the back doors.
Doesn't matter. I get so many people that don't have kids. There's nobody riding in the back, and they're still doing it.
Yeah, it's
why would
kind
they
of crazy.
I think because with
is it the opposite? I mean,
gravity wins and hangs.
Unuse?
Doesn't get in the back very often, but at some point somebody opens that door at a car wash or whatever to clean it, to put something in the back seat, and if it's brittle and old, like a frozen garden hose, and then you move it, and then it's done. So I think it's an age thing.
Harold, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show. We'll be back.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. Don't forget, you can watch us on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe there and go to underthehoodshow.com and join the Hoodie Fan Club, you could win a hoodie.
Like Kelly Richardson, congratulations from all those under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute and Berkeley One Classic, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage. Universal Technical Institute, place to get trained for everything automotive. They're getting ready to open up a new campus in Atlanta as well, too. So they keep expanding. They're not shrinking, they're expanding. They've got you too? You too, yeah. Me too. Anyways, it comes with age.
Mm-hmm.
They expand with age. Oh, you too.
Same thing.
Yeah, we all got that. So, but instead of getting older and, fatter, they're getting
better,
more experienced and better. So check out uti.edu today.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Julie in Minnesota. Julie, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hi. I've got a 2019 Chevy Traverse, and I keep having the check engine light come on, and it's always this P0449 evaporative emission purge solenoid warning or whatever that comes on, and they keep clearing it off. And I was looking at it online too and seeing that that's kind of a problem for this vehicle. I don't know if you guys have had any experience with that. It's best just to go in and try to replace that, or what you might know about it.
It is. We've had a lot of experience with these, and the purge control solenoid, this vehicle's more known for that than the vent solenoid, which is located under the vehicle, and you could do that purge solenoid yourself. If you're handy with a 10 millimeter wrench, you could do it. You could pull that up on YouTube and watch it. You take the oil cap off the engine where you fill it, you pull the cover off, the plastic cover, and put the cap back on, and then you'll see it right there staring at you. It's right almost next to the oil filler, and it's a little plastic solenoid, a little bigger than a golf ball. It's got one hose clipped to it that you just push down the button and unhook, one wire that you pull the little clip and unplug it, and then 10 millimeter bolt holds it in. You unscrew it, take it off, throw it in the garbage, put the new one on, tighten up the bolt, plug it back in, plug the hose in, take your oil cap back off, put the plastic cover back on, oil cap back on, and away you go. That's literally that simple.
And it's not an overly expensive part, so if you did that, it didn't fix the problem. You're spending a lot less money than having a diagnostic.
Probably $40. I just lost so many people going, okay, you do this now. What?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's simple. Then you gave
you go to the
11
podcast,
steps.
Go to the podcast and back it up.
I guess, yeah.
Or just watch a YouTube video on it. But I'm saying it's something you can do from the top in your driveway in 10 minutes that you don't have to crawl under the car or have a jack or a hoist or anything to do, because it's the purge solenoid. If it was the vent solenoid, whole nother story.
Do you drive on a lot of gravel roads?
No, I mean I have 1 mile of gravel to drive.
That would affect
in
the
morning
vent.
before I go to work. But is that enough? You think?
That's enough to
affect it?
affect the vent because that
Okay.
thing's going to be venting and testing as you're driving. But that's not going to affect the purge. That's going to affect the vent in the tank underneath. So that's coming next.
Okay.
Once you get this fixed,
All right.
yeah,
Start with the easy one.
0442 and things in the back.
Yeah, start with the easy one. And then also, just as a reminder to people that are out there, we talk about this often, but when you're filling your fuel tank, first click, you're done. It just, you know.
And not while it's running, because if the car is running, it's going to be venting, and that can affect that purge valve. If you fill it while it's running, it will, vapors come all the way up to the front.
We don't want people overfilling their tank because a lot of times then you can get raw fuel into that system.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Julie, you drive a
I
mile.
said that about it.
You
So,
drive a mile on gravel every day.
right.
Okay,
so that's 2 miles every day.
2 miles.
1 mile there, 1 mile back.
So 600 miles
Right.
on gravel a year
Yeah,
on average.
I was just gonna say, Julie, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. And that sounds. I'm hopeful for Julie,
Yeah.
but that is a great example right there of just understanding what people are saying. Do you drive on gravel much? No, only 2 miles a day, which to much of the country and world is a lot.
Yeah, 600 miles.
'Cause-
So why are my tires worn out? Because you drive 600 miles of gravel a year, and they're worn out at 2 years. So you've driven 1,200 miles on sharp rocks, cutting your tires up.
Like, Shannon, ask me if I drive on gravel very often.
Do you drive on gravel very often?
Never.
There you go. That's
Less than a mile a year, probably. That's not true. But I
'cause
mean,
you saw something down a country road and you wanted to know what it was, so you drove down it.
I wanted to go check it out and see if I could.
You had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, hey, we're just going to pull off here for a little while. You watch your phone.
There's deer running in the meadow. Do you see them?
866-594-4150. Let's go to Idaho and talk to Blaine. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Blaine, what can we do for you?
I've got a 2019 F-150 with 91,000 miles, and I had to leave it at a dealership when I was out of town and drive a rental car home because the cam phasers, it was rattling. It sounded really bad.
That's no fun.
It's got the 6-cylinder EcoBoost in it, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and it still had plenty of power when it was making all that
Sure.
noise.
So you're lucky, sort of. It's going to be expensive. It's quite expensive to do this. We do a lot of them in our shop. But the fact that we're able to do them and keep your motor going, that's a plus.
Compared to the previous generation of V8s where you
Put an engine in it.
you did not do
Because if you fix them, a lot of the time for us, when they would get fixed at another place, wherever it was, they're at our place 6 months to a year later saying it's doing it again. I'm like, because you need an engine, you don't need phasers. But with these, they're fixed, they're done, they're good, as long as the oil's still being changed 3 months, 3,000 miles. If you go back to that, I have seen some people that were changing them at 6,000, 7,000 miles, and they made it another 50, 60,000, and they're rattling again. Like, well, what happened? You're not changing the oil. Well, I shouldn't have to. The manufacturer says I change it when the light comes on. No, don't do that. I see so many technicians on the technician site forums that are saying, don't do that. And these people are working at the dealership saying, no, don't do that.
How do we know?
not
How do
good.
we know if our vehicle is one of those?
You listen to us.
Okay.
Or you talk to your mechanic, and that's not the mechanic that's working for. Sometimes it's the mechanic working for the dealership, because I got them on the website saying, no, don't do it.
Oil system problems can be any vehicle
Mm-hmm.
if you extend the oil changes too long. That's all there is to it. We talk about phasers a lot in Ford trucks. We talk about them in lifters and cams in GM trucks. We got valves or whatever it might happen to be in Chrysler trucks.
I got a Toyota Camry right now. We're putting chains and everything in it.
But any of them, those are so mass produced, the opportunity to hear about it is high.
Mhm.
But we have a lot of them, like Russ just said, in cars that have phasers in them, timing chains, for pretty historical problem in 3.6 liter GM V8s. There's people that brought those into our shop with 200,000 miles that didn't have that problem.
Even the Starship Enterprise occasionally needed new phasers.
I just, I just wonder, like, on this truck, yes, every 3,000 don't follow but what about my Mitsubishi Galant? Is that one where I
Didn't
can
have phasers.
Can I let it go a little longer?
No, but there are some cars that tend to last longer on a little longer oil changes with the right oil. Volkswagens seem to hold up pretty good.
There was some 3.5 Ford EcoBoost in an era also that had timing chain stretch.
Okay.
And that would oftentimes give the symptoms of phasers.
Yeah, like the 11 to 13, they were really bad about that. But now we're seeing
this is a pretty new truck.
17, 18 through 21 is where we've been replacing a lot of these. We did one of our good customers, Michael and Natalia Dewis there in Garrettson. He listens to the show every week. Hi, Mike. They had one that had this happen, and they're like, they got into a better vehicle because they were tired of the old one that kept breaking. They're like, we're going to get this new one. It's not going to have a problem. And then they called it the lemon car because it had, air conditioning hose leaks, and it was pretty new. I think it's a 20, maybe a 21, but it started having these things. But then we get a lot of other listeners too, and they come in and these phasers are out of these new cars. It's just another one of these things. Like last week, I got on the rant, which we'll forget about now, about new cars. You spend so much money and they're broken. Although I did have a call on Monday again this week, someone with a 2024 GMC Sierra with a 6.2 that has 41,000 miles on it. It needs an engine.
Another one.
No, this is their first engine, but it's another truck calling in. But they need an engine.
Yeah, no, that's, it's another, because you just had one of them.
They've had the vehicle for 9 months, but it's out of warranty.
Yeah, and they probably spent $40,000 on that vehicle.
A lot more than that.
Stopped, yeah.
It's a fully loaded. It's the same one that Jim has, same color and everything.
They spent $50,000 on that truck.
At least.
Blaine, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Let's take a break. I do have $2 million ideas.
Are you going to give them both away on the same show?
Well, maybe, because the one is just for me and you. Me and you and Doug, let's play poker with this one over here. Because when the call starts, it takes less than a second for me to see on his face what's going on with that, whether he agrees with the tech or whether
it's poker with me.
I think in gamesmanship, I don't know if I want to go down that road. He's smart enough to control it.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Drew. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Drew, what can we do for you?
Yes, sir. I bought this last weekend. I went and I found I've been looking for a Toyota 4Runner. I found a 2018 Toyota 4Runner, took it for a test drive, mainly drove it on the highway and everything was fine. And then I ended up trading in my truck, got it. And then over the last, so I've only had it for, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, I don't like what's coming, I don't think. I don't know if I like what's coming at all here.
And so like highway speeds, I don't notice it. But if anything from, 20 to 30 miles per hour, I start having this kind of it feels like it's on my driver's side, but it's kind of a wump, 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 kind of a grinding or like, friction noise. And so all day on Tuesday when I was at work, it was just bothering me. I looked on all sorts of forums and stuff online, and I found what I think might be the problem, but I was wondering what you guys think it might be.
Are you driving too close to the shoulder?
No. No.
Yeah, they started putting these serrations on the edge of the road.
That's about what it sounds like. But I mean, if you don't have the radio or the heater on, then you really noticeable.
How many miles are on the 4Runner?
98,000.
Okay, there's a question I have. If you have the radio on loud, you don't even notice it? It's just a sound?
Yeah, well, I can feel the vibration too. I can feel the vibration in my feet.
Okay. Can you ignore it? Is
I
it
think
that
well,
strong?
I
I'm just
think-
asking.
I think you got a wheel bearing going
I
on.
probably could ignore it.
I-
Yeah, that's what the technician at the shop, because I already called the dealer's service department and they want to. I'm going to bring it in and have them look at it. But I actually found a thing online. They actually published a Toyota technical service bulletin: front differential cyclical groaning / grinding.
That's not good. I still want to check the tires first before anything to make sure they're not cupped on the edge, because if they are, they will do this same noise and it'll resonate. But that cyclical noise that you're hearing that they're talking about, that's a differential thing,
Yeah.
because the hubs don't lock and unlock on the front of that. The differential's always, it's turning and one side's decoupling. So as one side's turning, the differential's moving, and the gears inside of that thing are just kind of, they're speeding up and they're slowing down as you're going. You're like, that's not good. And I don't remember what their fix was for that. I thought it had something to do with just changing the fluid to start with.
The bulletin that I have, one of the other things it was saying on this bulletin that I read was, if you put it in 4-wheel drive, does it stop?
Goes away.
I did that, it stops. It stops. And
Because that
so
puts
then
more
it was
tension
saying
on the
you
gear
need to-
set.
Well, they span too. They're
Yeah.
all spinning at the same rate. So that's a bad thing if they're all spinning at the same rate and it goes away, because a wheel bearing is going to continue to make noise in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, and the tires would also,
Mhm.
unless you start
So with
turning.
the tires, if it goes away 100%, then it may be that it's just not 100% decoupling that front axle. And we had a lot of that with the Fords. We don't do a lot with the Toyota on this, but with the Fords, they won't decouple 100%, and some of the Chevys, so they wouldn't spin. They need to spin either at the same rate as everything else to keep the noise away, or not at all. And if they're dragging a little bit with those vacuum actuators as they go bad, it'll try to keep it engaged a little bit, and you'll get a groaning. You got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
You might get lucky here, and it might just need the coupler worked on.
Drew, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dan in California. Dan, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Fantastic, Dan.
Great. Hey, I called a few months ago and I left a message and you guys called me back, but I was never able to answer the phone when I was at work. So
We
thanks for
remember.
taking my call today. I appreciate
We
it.
know.
I love the show. But I have a 2021 Kia Forte GT. It's the model that has the turbo engine. I bought it brand new in 21. I drive a ton for work. I've got about just shy of 90,000 miles on it in the few years I've had it. So here's the issue. The transmission in this thing is rather odd, I guess. It's real herky jerky, and it shudders, and it like you name it, it kind of makes those. It's got a DCT transmission. What can I tell you? It never seems like it's really smooth, but it's not like horrible. But I'm wondering if I should like take it into Kia and pay for their diagnosis or whatever, and see if they do anything to it. I don't know if that's reprogramming or what you guys think.
You can try, but those Kias are just not real smooth. Everyone I have that comes in for other repairs where they're not looking for that problem, I drive them and I'm thinking, boy, this thing is just, you take off and you hit about 30 and all of a sudden it's like, it drops into that drum changes and it gets into a higher ratio, and all of a sudden it's like I shifted into too high a gear too quick. Now, if you keep down on it, if you're taking off at, a third to half throttle, so you're really accelerating, it seems pretty smooth to me. But if I just want to accelerate normally, pull out onto a road and start accelerating gently, it really drops gears, or there's no gears in there. It's just a CVT, so it really changes the ratio quickly and gets that RPM way down, and then it's just chuggy. Is that what yours is doing?
No, this one actually has a dual clutch transmission.
Oh, it does.
It's a 7-speed 7CT, and like say in the morning when I'm pulling out of work or pulling out of my place to go to work, and I put it in reverse, back up, and I put it into drive, it just at that like really, really low speed, like it's kind of shakes a little bit sometimes, or it kind of shudders. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
You said the magic word, dual clutch. Those are problematic. The Kias, the Hyundai stuff, Ford's really bad about that. They all have that same inherent design. They're just clunky.
Ford did on theirs when they had problems. They did a number of software updates that they would put out to the dealers. For some people, it satisfied their dissatisfaction with the way it shifted. And other people, they just couldn't get used to the way that transmission
and that's
shifted.
The thing. It's like it's designed that way. It's supposed to. They probably meant for it to feel way different when they originally engineered it, but it's just the way that works. It's working perfectly fine, but they make noise. It's not hurting anything. It's like owning a 5.3 Chevy in the older generation, like the 03. They all clunk when you start the engine cold. They tuck, 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 and then it goes away, but it never explodes because of that. It's just the way it's designed with pistons that take a minute to take up the space as they warm up. But that dual clutch transmission has always been one that's a little more herky-jerky.
So Dan doesn't have anything to worry about necessarily.
But maintain it.
Yeah.
It's still a Kia transmission. You know, you got to maintain, do the fluid changes when as recommended.
And when they do that, if you haven't done it yet, you're going to want to inspect that fluid, make sure there's not a bunch of material in it, that something is worn and broken.
And they may have some updates.
And there may be a software update. I think it'd be worth doing that if you're not satisfied with the way it feels.
Well, and how many miles do you have on it?
90,000.
So it's due.
It's due for a
change.
89. Yeah. So let me say this: I did change the transmission fluid at 60,000. So that was about 39,000 miles, or I'm sorry, 29,000 miles ago. I changed it.
Did it look good?
I mean, I'm religious about the oil. Yeah.
Did we get are we 100% we got the right fluid in it? Because or is it different?
Well, is it different now than it was?
There's fluids that say they're an equivalent of the factory that you can use, but they don't necessarily give you the same feel. Like with us, we use a oil we get from Schaefer's in all of the GM vehicles now because it's taking care of some of the shudder issues we had with those 8 speeds. So we started doing it. A friend of ours that has a transmission shop said, you should try this, and it fixed their problems. So we tried it. It fixed our problems. It costs a little more money, but we avoid all those shudder issues. Same thing with these. I have a couple brands of that, like Nissan NS3 and different things that I get of special fluids. And I've tried one brand. Yeah. It's not quite as good as the other brand. Even though they both say NS3, they don't perform quite as well, even though they're the same price.
I guess the question, Dan, did it do it before the change too, or is this a new thing?
No, it was doing it before the change.
Okay.
In fact, I would say that the only time that this car really had like a smooth shifting transmission was like right when I bought it in LA, and then I had 6 miles on it when I bought it, and it was good for maybe less than a year, and then I definitely started noticing like little hiccups.
Okay.
What's the name of that fluid you recommend? Because I will try that.
I don't know if the Schaefer fluid, they're not a partner of ours, but I don't know if the Schaefer fluid meets the recommendation for that car. But if it does, if they have a product for it, I would try it out.
You want it specific.
Specific for yours.
Hour 2 is coming up of the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. We've got Bill in Wisconsin who's been waiting a while to get on here while we started the show, so let's get right to him and say, hey, Bill, you are on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hi. I have a 21 GMC Sierra with the 3-liter Duramax, and it came with 2 intermittent starting issues. The first one, you would push the button, it wouldn't fire the injectors, it would just crank to a timed out. The second time you push it, it would start right up. GMC released a TSB, and that issue, I guess, was caused by an improper positioning of a cam position sensor trigger wheel. So they reprogrammed the ECM to turn 2 complete revolutions of the crankshaft, relearn that wheel every time you hit the start button, and that issue has not happened since. The other issue is where you push the start button, it doesn't start, and then you can push it as many times as you want. It won't start for 30 or 45 minutes. Then it'll start up and it'll run fine. That's only happened 4 or 5 times since I've owned the truck. But the last time it happened, it was 7 degrees outside, and I was with my wife who wasn't happy with spending 30 minutes in a cold truck.
I don't blame her.
So I'm under some pressure to get that one fixed. It shows a battery voltage low message when that happens. I replaced the battery. It hasn't happened since, but that was only about 3 weeks ago. I bought a scanner, and I figured out how to read the engine data. I was hoping that maybe when it happens, I would see like no cam position sensor or crankshaft position sensor or some indicator which might show where the issue is. But do you guys have any clue? How would you diagnose something like that?
Exactly the way you're doing it, but there's going to be more. There's going to be more to it. You're going to have to read the data, and then compare that data to actual function with a multimeter, at sensors, at injectors, at the pump, all of it to find out what is not working. If the computer says that X is happening but Y is not, we need to find out what that is. It is not easy to do, especially when it's intermittent, because the second you get some equipment on there to test it, it's going to fire right up. It's not something you can test with the engine off. And these things are becoming so difficult on these vehicles now, especially when you get something like this with a push button start. That low voltage code is probably coming up because it's cranking so long. If it cranks too long, it's going to pull the battery down enough where it's going to give you that code. I can't remember what the exact voltage is.
With the first starting issue, it would crank till it times out, but it never gave the low voltage message.
Okay, if it was doing that, and now though it's cranking and it's you got that automatically, it may not be firing, because if that computer thinks the voltage is below a certain point, it won't engage. It can't fire the engine. It may be a programming issue, or it could be a bad ECM. It could have an issue with that. Could have a wiring issue as well. But if it's setting a code, if you measure voltage at your battery and your voltage doesn't go beyond the threshold that it should be at for low voltage, you've got a problem in the strategy in that computer of what it's thinking. So let's say the manual for that says 12.1 volts minimum cranking voltage to fire the injection, but the computer thinks it's at 10.6, but your battery, when you're measuring it, says 12.4. It's like, no, I'm still way above that, but my computer is saying mine is less. Yeah, then there's going to be a problem. I had that problem on my truck, and it's 30 years old. My computer would tell me that while it was running, I had 14.4 volts at the battery and the alternator and at the wiring going right into the computer, but my computer was reading like 11, I think it was. 10.5 to 11. Like, that's not right, because I've got power, I've got ground, and my power and ground right at the computer are saying over 14. But that thing was chugging. It was not running the injector pump correctly, and it was surging going down the road. And that was a computer issue. I ended up changing the computer to fix that problem. So it could be as simple as a reflash that updates that, like they did so this is the new problem. They fixed the problem with your cam crank correlation error. They relearned that. That update could have caused another problem.
I would also encourage you, I'm sure you've already done this, but like on the internet, on GM Authority, or there is baby Duramax forums out there.
There are other people who have reported. The one issue is very common. There's dozens of YouTube videos where it always starts the second time. There's hundreds of, probably thousands of people who reported that issue. That's why I think they got the TSB. It happened frequently enough they could figure out what it was doing. There's other people who have reported this issue, but no one has come up with a solution as far as I can tell. It's only happened 4 or 5 times since I've owned the truck, and I bought it new in 21. The first time it happened was the second day I owned the truck. So it happened prior to this reflash. It's happened in the middle of summer after it's parked 10 minutes. It's happened the first time I started for the day. The last time was after sitting an hour in a parking lot.
How many miles are on this truck now?
About 45,000.
Oh, wow. They are really good trucks when they work and don't have problems. I mean, the fuel economy, the torque. I got an employee that works in our team that has one, and he's had some transmission issues and some things, and we've had them in. People asking us to work on them, and once they're out of warranty, they're getting harder to find people that want to work on them.
Even the dealerships a lot of times do not want to work on those,
which is sad. But
and don't forget, it's got a timing belt. You knew it had a timing belt, right?
I know it has the oil pump is driven by a belt.
Yeah, so it's got a timing belt on the back of the engine. It's not up front where people normally see it, and it's called a wet belt. It's run in the oil. So it does have a replacement interval. In fact, I just had a guy that had one with 90,000 miles, needed a transmission in it, and he was taking it in, and he was calling me saying, they got my transmission out. Eric, said, they want to put a belt on it. Timing belt on the back of the motor? Yeah, it's time to do it while they've got the transmission out.
It'll save you a fair amount of money.
Yeah, so these are things that I tell people, I warn them, find out what your vehicle has when you get it. But this no start thing, hopefully, like you said, it's pretty rare. Even on the internet, it's pretty rare, but it's happening. So people are seeing it. So you got to keep paying attention to it, watch it, and hopefully somebody will find it and fix it. Once they get it nailed down, they'll be able to release a bulletin about it, or people will know.
Just a little more on this before we go on to another caller. If you had it at the shop and it was not starting, and you put scanner on, I know you're not going to want it. He's already said I don't want it. But if you had the scanner on it, couldn't you tell with your dad at that point what's missing, why it's not starting? I mean, what component of the firing is missing?
30 to 45 minutes where it will not start. So I would think if it were at the shop when it was actually happening, they could figure out what was wrong.
You would think so.
Because you got to figure out what's missing. Is it not getting fuel because for some reason there's a valve that's not kicking in that bypasses fuel?
If you're back probing at the pump and you're trying to crank it and there's nothing there, but the computer says that it's sending out a signal, and you're checking at the computer, at the ECM, you're checking at the at the ejector pump. You're checking all that, and there's nothing coming out. Then we know we got a computer issue. It's not turning them on. And that's how they check for those things. If they're getting a reading as you're cranking it, and you say, "Oh, I got cam rotation, I got crankshaft rotation," well, I'm going to stick my meter right on it coming into the computer. Well, it says it's dead. There's nothing coming in. Why is the computer giving me a reading? It's putting in a reading there. It's substituting a value. Something is going on there. That's how they check those things. That's how they find them.
So he's got a little bit of an advantage if he could have it die
while it's
somewhere that somebody's got the
but
knowledge.
If it's only done it a few times since he's owned it,
hard.
They're not going to touch it.
Bill, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I just got back, by the way. I was gone. When you said check like GM Authority, and then you said, I thought, or Baby Max.
Baby Duramax.
Baby Duramax. And I was like, is it really baby or is it maybe? Or did you say maybe?
I said baby.
Baby Max.
Yep, Baby Duramax.
And that's what it's called?
Little 3-liter small Duramax engine is what the people have kind of coined it.
Yeah, all right. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking a little like go-kart.
It's much smaller when you see it in the warehouse when we dismantle it.
Diesel-powered go-kart?
Yeah, exactly. For long go-kart rides. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. You only want a diesel go-kart if you're doing a lot of go-karting. You don't want to go short trips. You want to get that thing out on the road.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Vernon. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Vernon, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Fantastic. Vernon?
Hey, I got a 2022 LS 500 Lexus that can't be aligned. All four tires are wear on the inside all the time. I only get about 20,000 miles before I have to change them. And I'm told by the factory, not the factory, but the dealer, that they're hard mounted at the plant or something like that, and you can't align it. Is this true? Or?
They are right. At the dealer,
they can.
You need to go to an alignment shop. And I mean, not, no offense to the Les Schwab people or whatever out there that do those kind of, that they come in, you get an alignment done, a Tires Plus or whatever, Walmart, wherever they're doing a regular quick alignment with a computer that says, do it this way. You need to go to, the guy who also straightens frames, like a truck shop alignment where they do trucks, they do cars, they do everything. Because what they're going to do is they now good alignment.
You need a guy
shops,
who's doing it through cigarette smoke.
Yeah,
right?
that'll do.
That's not a prerequisite,
but I know a couple good aligners. I mean, in our area, we got a guy down in T that is really good with alignments, and he can do this kind of stuff. But the way he's going to do this is first, he's going to look and see if there is a kit to adjust fixed things like caster and camber that may not be adjustable without the kit installed.
And
that
with
now
the kit,
makes
they
it
put it like a little adapter shim or something.
bolts
in there.
that are cam, so you can. So now it's adjustable. It's going to cost you some money. I can remember like back years ago when we were doing alignments, and a standard alignment at that time, not at our shop, but another shop I was at, was like $39.95. But a lot of those alignments were $200 by the time we were done with it, because we had to put all these one-time kits in there, and then it was back to the $39.95 for the alignment. But that allowed us to adjust these things. If they couldn't be adjusted, I know a guy here not too far up the road that will put a hook on the frame, and he will bend it he'll grab all that arm and he will bend it until it's right dead center of that alignment where it needs to be. And then he's got some alignment to play with. Or if it's a non-alignable car like that, where you can't adjust caster and camber, they will pull it until they get, and we're talking about a couple millimeters. It doesn't take much, but they'll pull it until they get it right set in the green, and then they'll just let it go and make sure everything holds. Then they'll align the rest of it. So they cannot just put a simple wrench on it and align the car. No, at the dealership. That can't, with what you're having, they can't. But can things be done to get that car to be aligned? Yes, it can be done.
It just doesn't seem right, Russ, that he would be hooking chains to a Lexus.
Right.
to anything.
Yeah.
You know, you said it's expensive, but it can't be more than 4 tires with $2,000.
That's right. I mean, I could see an alignment being, this guy here. If I went in and he told me I had this LS 500 and he said it was going to be $750 to align it this one time, and then we'll be back to a normal alignment after that, I'd be like, let's get it done.
go, yeah.
I don't want to be putting tires on it. Plus, the ride can't be the best.
You're not hauling like bricks or anything real heavy. Are you a brick salesman or a
No. This is the wife's car. Now she drives pretty bad, but other than that, no, we're not hauling.
Okay.
She's got all the girls in the car. We put 5 of us in there and the wife and shopping bags in the trunk, and she's loaded down.
Because you can get issues if a car is overloaded off all the time. But
No, nothing like that. No.
okay.
Good.
The Mercedes, they and the BMWs, we had a specification.
You had to add weight.
We
to
put
them.
weights in. So we would put a weights in the passenger seat, weights in the driver's seat, front, rear, wherever it was, and align this car at different positions to compensate for that. They were very picky about their alignments. I don't see that as much anymore.
Do you ever have to eyeball, like when I come in, do they go, ooh, we're going to align,
I look at your
we
car.
got to align that we got to account for him.
When we don't do alignments, but we do.
I didn't know where you were going there.
Yeah, we do front end work and stuff, and we will eyeball it with a gauge. We have an alignment gauge that tells us the actual measurement. It's a physical, like a tape measure. We stick it on the front side of the wheels and on the back side. But we have had people. It is hard as a mechanic. It's nice when you have a service advisor. We don't you can say you do it. But when the guy comes in with his brand new Lincoln that's 6 months old, and we're on the 3rd power seat now because the base is broken, when you look it up in the manual and the manual says this seat has a weight limit and it's 250 pounds, and this gentleman exceeds that by at least 100 pounds, you don't want to be the guy to have to say that. And if you look, the cars all have a spec for the seat. So there is a weight limit for seats in cars.
We went a different direction here, but you started
Well,
it,
we're
Chris.
talking about the alignment specs and stuff
well,
like
I know.
that. But
Chris started this, though.
But
Now,
a
Vernon,
seat-
your wife. No.
No,
no,
you're going to get in trouble, Chris.
No.
I didn't do it.
Has nothing to do with that. But the seats, they're made to collapse when you get in rear end collisions and things like that and different stuff. So they all have to have a weight limit on them. But with alignments have to account for a car with one driver that could weigh, let's say, as little as 100 pounds, or all 5 passengers at the car that are at the max of, let's say the car has a 225 per seat limit on average, and you've got 5 seats full. That's a lot of weight on the suspension compared to, and then the trunk compared to the one single driver. So the suspension, as it travels up and down, has to maintain contact with the road perfectly. So that's why everything's at a different angle, so that it, like wipers that are really long on some vehicles, they go up as they move over and then back down. Like your anteater thing you owned, the van. The
Uplander.
Uplander had that wiper that went.
Yeah.
Because it was just one.
Vernon, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to stay in Mississippi and talk to Terrell. You're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I got a 2025 Kia K5. You know, my daughter's car, she bought it brand new, and she drives something like 5 minutes to work every day. What would be a good interval on the oil change on that first time at least?
It's a brand new Kia.
Yeah, I was just going to say the brand new part is
First oil change is probably going to be closer to 10,000 miles. See what the factory recommends, but they're going to recommend probably 8 to 10,000 on most of them. But you're going to have to read, because I've seen some of them that are 1,000 miles, but most of them are higher. And the reason they do that is because they want the engine to break in properly. They know what oil's in that. They know how it's going to wear the components to seat them in properly. And then you're changing your oil strategies, your change strategies.
After that, if she's driving it
after
that, if she's driving that car just that short distance every day, you definitely need to be in
3 months, 3,000.
that 3,000 mile range approximately.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or 3 months. Don't let that go out 6 to 8 months a year if it's that short.
Yeah. I was just concerned about that first one. I know you got braking and oil and all that. So you're saying going about 8,000 miles. Yeah.
Maybe you got it. That's.
Do you know what the factory spec is for the first oil change?
I know you can't really go by the factory all the time for what they say.
Yeah, I would be tempted to. Not tempted. I would ask their salesman to ask their service manager,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Hey, what is the factory recommendation for the first oil change on this car?
Yeah, because
And
if you do
they
it too
might
soon,
just say
it's-
when the light comes on because they will program it to
Right.
turn the light on at this time.
I wonder how many times
For the first oil change.
For the 1st
Mhm.
oil change,
Yeah.
right?
It'd be different.
Terrell, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I wonder how many times that's burned them in that they put that in the book or whatever. And then I see, 10,000 miles. I can do it every 10,000 miles.
There's a lot of things like that, Chris.
I think that would be a common problem.
Yeah.
We had a vehicle we bought, and they said, nope, we don't want you changing this till 10,000 miles.
Perfect.
And I'm like, boy, and then I'm thinking, that's not all the time.
Yeah.
You look at the oil change interval, it was not that.
Just that first time.
Yep.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe there and join the Hoodie Fan Club at UnderTheHoodShow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Brian Zawicki, congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu, and Berkeley One Classic, celebrating 50 years of collector car insurance.
Do you know anything about that, where he's from and how old he is?
Michigan.
Did he used to return? Was he the special teams returner on my high school football team?
No.
Okay, just checking. That'd be weird.
Same name?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be weird, huh? How great would that be?
Be fun.
Yeah. 866-594-4150.
Chris.
From our friends over at UTI and Berkeley One Classics. There we go. Let's go to Idaho and talk to John. You're on the Under the Hood Show. John, what can we do for you?
Very glad you took my call. I've got a 2010 Chevy Traverse. I've had it for since 2016. We now have right around 230,000 miles on it. It's been a great car. We've had no issues other than regular maintenance, brakes, that type of stuff. But, about a year ago, I noticed with the transmission, once in a while, it wouldn't shift. It just stayed low. And so I took it into my regular service people. They're really good. I know them well. And they checked it all out. They flushed the transmission, new filter. I've always used synthetic fluid in it. And they said, we can't find anything wrong with it. And anyway, what I discovered is when it wouldn't shift, if I would come to a complete stop and then take off again, it would be just fine. And I wouldn't have any problem again, maybe for several days, even weeks and weeks. And I never have the issue when I'm on a freeway. And I've noticed here just lately, because I always have it in a garage, and we get really cold here in Idaho Falls. And if I leave it sitting outside, if I go somewhere, like one of my son's home or wherever, and it's left sitting outside, I go out. The first time I try that I go, it won't shift. And so I pull the side of the road, come to a complete stop, take off, and it shifts just fine then. And so I wondered if you have any cures for that or know what's causing it.
You're not turning it off. You're just coming to a complete stop, correct?
That's correct.
So if you just pull up to a stoplight and take off, it'll go ahead and shift again as well?
Right.
Right. At that point, if I was looking to diagnosis, I would have a scanner with me, and I would find out what's going on. It should tell me So that when that transmission attempts to shift gears from first to second to third gear, and it does not, it's going to set a code in the background. It should. If it doesn't, there's a problem with the computer because it knows that, all right, we should have shifted to second gear. Why is our RPM at 3,000 now at 30 miles an hour? I got a gear ratio problem going on here. Either the transmission's slipping or that solenoid failed because I commanded the solenoid on. The computer says I turned it on and we didn't change RPM. The road speed's increasing, engine RPM's increasing. We should have dropped that engine RPM with road speed. Something's going on. So it should know it. But if you come to a stop and you take off and now it shifts properly, that's going to be a pending code in history that wouldn't turn your light on yet. And now it's going to go away because it's going to check it the next time and it's working. I have a suspicion that maybe you have a solenoid hanging up in that transmission. And if that solenoid is stuck and not turning on, or if it's turning on but the valve's not moving in the valve body, that's what's going on. And it might be a case where, so in our shop, we use the Justice Brothers transmission cleaner in vehicles before I flush a transmission and then their transmission additive after their protectant. And when I do that, what it's doing is it's cleaning up these valves as they move. So in your case, if it was in my shop, I'd put the cleaner in while the transmission's warm or hot. I'd drive it, make sure it shifts through all the gears, but I'd do that multiple times, maybe 10 stop and starts, bring it back into the shop, flush the whole thing out, and then put the additive in it and drive it again to make sure everything's moving and working well. And that may be all it needs to clean it up.
We can't forget here, though, that it does have 230,000 miles on it. And if that transmission is original, you have done amazingly well.
For that one, you betcha.
Yeah, because I think it was what they call it, a reaction drum or planetary or something in there they had a problem with inside those transmissions. And it could be something that's just wore enough that it's hanging up at certain times. But that fluid flush that Russ is talking about with the treatment might bring back some movement in something that's getting caught. It might be worth a try because otherwise you're up against a pretty significant transmission cost. I'm proud of what you got going there because, like I said, we see a lot of them that would fail at 70, 80, 90, 110,000 miles in Traverses and Enclaves and that whole Acadias in that era. There was
that whole series. Yeah.
There actually was a transmission Bolton that the dealer put out, or the factory put out in one of them years. I can't remember if it went clear to 10 or not, but I think you're doing great. And you've got a real good keen sense for your vehicle, which is a good thing too.
I had bought it at 108,000 miles on it and used, and put the synthetic fluid in it immediately, and I've been great until, like I say, last probably less than a year it's been doing this, but it's so intermittent. And so you say it's Justice Brothers Fluid Flush? Is that what you call it?
We use the Justice Brothers chemical to flush these out. It's available at professional automotive shops. So you just ask the place that you normally go to if they carry that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
And then there's a treatment you put in with the fill afterwards.
The protectant.
Yep.
John, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Oklahoma and talk to Warren. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Warren, what can we do for you?
Well, I had a question about availability of used parts, and it came about after driving from Tulsa to Oklahoma City and seeing a lot of little in-tow caravans where there will be one operable vehicle. All three of them look damaged, probably bought at an auction, and they're bumper to bumper. And my understanding is they're going to Mexico. I'm not sure if they're being parted out there or rebuilt. But I thought that might put a serious dent in our used parts, like at yards, like pick apart and stuff like that.
I will try not to get on too long of a rant here.
A soapbox, because it's more than the Mexican cart that we called them the Mexican trains.
Yeah,
Mexico.
We've got a lot of challenges in every industry has its challenges. So
first of all, yes, he's got it right.
They're going
right?
south.
Yeah.
They're heading somewhere.
They might not be stopping in Mexico, but they're going.
I got videos of a lot of them. We were talking about that at Christmas. I was like, where are all these coming from?
Yeah, and it's almost fun to watch the way they hook them up and put them all together, it's amazing.
Give them plenty of room.
It's amazing they make it.
Yeah.
In some cases,
Yeah.
but the ingenuity, I will say, is quite high.
A Ford Edge with a giant Super Duty intercooler on the front of it.
Yeah, the
was amazing.
ingenuity to figure it out.
It's legal.
Flowers. Yes. The DOT is watching very closely now.
Well,
because
it's not illegal yet, usually.
Right.
The DOT is watching very closely for the activity of multiple vehicle trains pulling together. It's not super specific, but they are pulling them over, and there are multiple safety violations being given because they're trying to curtail this activity. But at the end of the day,
right,
you have hit on something that our industry has been challenged with for a long time. The majority of the salvage vehicles in the country are sold at two major auction companies that are big corporate entities. There are people in those companies that are friends of mine. We deal with them. We talk to them. It does create a big challenge. They have a huge international buyer base. And we're not just talking about going south out of North America. We're talking about going over the ocean to Europe. We're talking about going to the Middle East. We're talking about Eastern European countries, you name it. We sit in our little humble abode of South Dakota, and we are on the internet bidding on these vehicles, and you're watching the state or the country pop up, and it is literally all over the world on a car for sale that is sitting in Lenox, South Dakota, let's just say at one of these operations where they've got a big storage lot. It's just, that is a huge change from what it used to be, and it does affect the availability of salvage vehicles. It affects the prices of salvage vehicles, and it's just something we've had to learn to compete with. I've also got a lot of really good customers that buy parts from those vehicles and take them back south of the border with them. The majority of those vehicles are getting fixed in those foreign countries. Okay. They're using labor that is highly skilled, machinists that figure out how to fix things. They have got labor that doesn't cost as much. There's groups putting these together for not a lot of dollars, and they would not probably pass a rigorous safety inspection. They may not have the airbag systems put back in place. They may not have the anti-lock brakes working when they're done, but they're creating affordable transportation in their country where they can't apparently get enough of it.
Right.
My one friend that imports into Poland that I've met, he just said, we don't have auto manufacturers there. And so they're bringing this stuff in.
Bringing everything in.
They're figuring out how to fix it.
Yeah.
So it is you did hit a nail on the head. It is creating a challenge. I'm not alone in our industry, but I'm going to be the president of our trade association here in 10 months now or something like that. And these are the types of issues that we monitor all the time and we pay attention to. And I'm glad you asked the question. I'm glad you asked the question.
Yeah. To me, it's a lot like cash for clunkers as far as taking vehicles off the road.
I will just tell you that it's very difficult to buy a Toyota Camry, Avalon, Honda Accord. There's some certain vehicles that is just very, very difficult to buy them because of the competition.
The market.
The competition pushing the market on them.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully it's not going to be like New Zealand where they cut in half of good ends together and sell it like it was new.
Well, there's plenty of export things that happen that are not pretty. Going into these foreign countries, I can tell you there's some things that are not pretty that go into containers that are being put back together in other countries. There's no doubt about it.
Warren, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let me check the chat here. We've got a question coming in from Dan. I have a 2000 Silverado with P0446, and the only time it comes on is on a full tank of gas. Where do I start?
Well, that again is that evaporative emissions system problem. And if it's got a full tank of gas, it's having problems with the vent system in there. It probably needs a new purge valve and possibly a vent valve. But we had a purge valve call earlier with some issues. But yeah, purge valves and vent valves are usually the problem when you have a full tank of gas and there's a problem with it running poorly, like right after you fuel it, or you are driving it with a full tank of gas and you start having the issue.
Or if you have recently had work done with a fuel pump replaced and one of the hard plastic lines gets damaged during that process, you always have to be aware of that, or not properly attached. If they remove the fuel tank, I'm always suspect about that. And on some vehicles, if it's gotten bad enough where you are, and this isn't, we talk about this, it's not like it's a all the time thing, but if you overfuel and over click, eventually you'll put enough raw fuel into the system that your canister, it's a vapor canister that has like charcoal ground up inside of it, would be the best way to put it, because that's usually what it is when you cut them open. But if they get too much raw fuel in them, then they just can't breathe, and you've got to replace that canister. That's usually the last thing that goes. But it's got to get pretty extreme for that to happen.
Let's say you're at a gas station, and the gas station you're at, the pump itself is running really slow. And it starts to just right from the gate, it starts clicking off. And then you're on it, and you kind of go slow, and it's filling the thing slow. And then you step away, and I step up to the pump, and it clicks off. Should you freak out on me, even though you've done it 5 times in the last 30 seconds? When I do it the 6th time, should you overreact and yell at me?
I just want to know where your gauge is at. Is it full?
I don't know.
Have you just put, if I look at your
Why
thing,
did you yell at me when that happened?
You just put in 5 gallons.
Do you remember that? When we stopped on our way to the NASCAR race and we went into the...
I don't.
I'm
sure it happened. I just don't.
We stopped and what was funny was we stopped to get gas and the pump was really slow and it was clicking off, and we were on E, as you can imagine. We were white knuckling it kind of to the... which is what you do when you're on a road trip.
Yep.
And
just did it last week.
It was really slow and it was taking a while. And then, so you had restarted it and I was standing there and it went again and I restarted it and you went, what? Oh, and you kind of were like, oh wait, yeah, this is how it goes here. But then I think you had talked to the manager it was a gas station that they kind of just it wasn't open the whole time, but when NASCAR and some issues were around big events, they would open it.
Yeah.
That can't be good, right?
No, it's going to confuse people.
Good. Yeah.
It's gonna confuse people. Can't have that.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Mike in Oklahoma. Mike, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hello, guys. I appreciate the call. I've been watching and listening for some time, so I've called a couple times. It's very helpful. So I had a project this week, couple projects on my 2002 Jeep Liberty with the 3.7 this weekend. I did have a reman engine put in about 20,000 some miles ago, so I'm trying to keep this thing up well as I can. So I had the infamous leaky valve covers on it, so that was my main project. But while I was in there, I flushed the radiator, changed the upper and lower hoses, put a motor rad thermostat in it, all the good stuff there. But again, like while I was in there, I changed the crankshaft position sensor. I had the battery negative post unhooked. Everything went fine, ran fine when I started it. Drove it a little bit around town, and sure enough, there was a little thump, if you will. Engine light came on, and I got the P0446 code in it. So I checked things over, decided I'm going to go back with the original. I put it back in. Of course, took the battery post off again, negative cable rather, and it's come back again. So I don't know what now. I'm not going to drive it. I've got it in the garage. I've actually had the negative post. I keep saying post, but cable off of it overnight. But any suggestions on that? Even though I put the original back in, I don't know what direction to go next. And of course, I've got a scanner, so I cleared the code. But I thought something that was going to be pretty simple, straightforward, has kind of turned out the other direction for me. So maybe I kind of thought maybe it was the ends, where plugs in to the actual sensor itself. Maybe I know they make kits for those too, but and I was going to get some contact cleaner to spray the ends. I haven't done that, so kind of look for some advice for my next step.
He's officially guilty of over repairing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's me.
Chris would never be in this situation.
No way.
Not a chance.
It definitely could be a problem with that, with the connector on the end. And we put those in all the time. They make those connectors just for this reason, because they fail often. So sometimes just the act of unplugging them and plugging them back in causes problems. So I would say, you could try that for sure and see if that helps. Make sure there's when you put that back in, put the original in, make sure there's nothing metal collecting on the end of it for some reason, or the hole you plugged it into, it doesn't have a big wad of grease or something in there that's blocking that signal.
Okay. All right. So I picked a sensor that was basically suggested for that. I thought about if it kind of continues, I try these, I go with a Mopar sensor, but
sure,
I didn't really think it'd be that particular, but I think that's maybe my other option. I might go down the road, do that. So,
is there any? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I just want to ask for sure, Russ. Is there any sort of a learn to that sensor?
Not on the Chrysler. The cam crank correlation is common on Chevrolet, but not on the Chrysler on this for what he's got going on. It's automatic. Should it be automatic?
Yeah, I actually had a situation too the other morning that it started fine. I shut it off because I was getting ready to go to work, and it cranked, it wouldn't start. That's when I took off the negative post again, waited about a minute or two, put it back on, and it started. So that's I'm glad you kind of brought that up, but I didn't really think or see anything on the internet about a learning.
It'll start on cold. If it's got a problem with that, it'll start on a cold start, but once it goes into closed loop, and then you shut it off, and it won't restart. It won't recrank. You have to wait until it's completely cold.
Oh, okay.
Because it's trying to look for both those sensors when it's warm, and if it sees one missing, it won't work.
Mike, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, sure.
How'd those valve covers turn out?
Actually, so far so good. It wasn't. I kind of seemed to have a little more problem with the driver's side than I did the passenger, even though I had to take off, the hoses and the air box and whatnot and the coolant reservoir. But it worked out all right.
All right. Well, make sure we got some win out of this.
Right.
He's got good-looking radiator hoses and no oil leaks. Let's get a little bit of a win out of this.
Mike, thanks very much for the call. On the chat, Dan said, thanks, the overfueling was my guess. As long as I keep it 3/4 of a tank and under, I don't get that P0446 code. So that's what it is, right? I mean, that's where
good
it's
chance.
At. Yeah.
Real good chance.
All right. That's about that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for our local audience, I want to thank the folks at Motor Market Magazine.
Yeah.
They requested an opportunity to do a story on our company and myself, and it ended up being a really good article. It includes a lot about the radio show. There's a nice picture of us in the new studio that Russ built.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a chance here locally, pick up the Motor Market Magazine. I've talked on the show about my Trans Am with 1,900 actual miles on it. They actually have a picture of it on the cover. You'll see a silver Trans Am on there.
How's that feel?
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I've
And
only
I'm not kidding.
I've only taken the car out a few times. It's been at one car show and then for this, and so it's kind of fun. But I'm real proud of the people around me that have helped me do what we do, and the team and our family. And this is a really good outline of that. So if you get a chance locally, pick up the Motor Market, and we'll see what you think.
Or at themotormarket.com.
There you go.
All right, that'll do it for the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, you can find us at underthehoodshow.com. And don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. All right, this is the after show. Very short today. We got stuff to do, so we're going to not be on the after show. And they've already started doing stuff. So really, it's just me and you now.
Hi,
They're
Chris.
both on their phones. I was thinking
Trying to get this streaming fixed on so we have all of it.
the Babbitt thing. The Babbitt.
John Wayne Babbitt?
No, the Babbitt. What's the name of bearing?
Yeah, Babbitt.
Babbitt. You got info. We were talking about that earlier, and
I did.
Did you go look it up, or did you get it sent to you?
No, I Googled it.
Okay.
I in the break, I went and Googled it because it's not something I threw a term out. And Babbitt bearings, as Russ said, I'm thinking old. They were last used in automotive in the 1950s. And so I wasn't out of line. I just was dated.
Right.
And they still use Babbitt bearings in a lot of industrial and small engine applications.
Yeah, I thought so.
That's still a thing. You did. But what I did find that was kind of interesting, and I just see if I can bring it back up really quick here. See, when we're in the after show, I can do this. But then it says, where was it? Anyway, the patent on a Babbitt bearing said it was like 89% tin. It was just really interesting. The old patent on the Babbitt bearing. I can't find it now, but anyway, it was just it was quite interesting.
Wesley Babbitt.
But yeah, I did use a very old term.
I liked it. I'm fine with that.
I was proud of myself for pulling it out and not saying something completely wrong,
Right.
like rabbit or habit or
Wabbit.
wabbit.
All right, that'll do it for the End of the Hood Show. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Anything else?
I don't know. Sorry if you were, it doesn't matter. If you're streaming on YouTube and watching us,
You're
here you
watching us.
are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you went elsewhere and didn't find us,
It
working on
says
it.
we're live on X and Facebook right now, and I just went to their. Chris was like, "What are you doing?" I'm on my phone looking. I was looking at the producer sites, and it says,
We're
"Yeah,
on.
you got a live stream coming in, but we can't see it." I'm like, "What do you mean? How is it coming in if you can't see it?" It's like, "Well, it's connected, but there's
Maybe
no."
we're not approved to be on there for some reason.
No, we are.
Okay.
We are. It
We got
says
enough-
it says you're
we're
live.
on,
It says
yeah.
we're waiting. The words on producers said we're waiting for your video. The stream is connected. We're waiting for video to start. So I'm like, okay, where are you?
Well, these guys. I'd say them because they've been working on this, trying to expand our streams and adding more content. And so we're happy you're here. Click the buttons, shake
Smash
the trees,
that button.
hit everything. Show signs of life that you're listening, please,
Yeah.
because we're trying to grow this, and because we know we have a good product to help people with their automotive budget.
The people that watch us love us. I
Yeah.
like what Shannon said a week ago or whatever. It's like we're not that big, but the people who like us or watch us, they really like us.
Yeah, because we're confident we have a good product, and we know we're not some Instagram star of any sort, but we have
Don't
got
want to be.
we got a good product, and we can help people. So we want to help spread that. And when we meet people that are regular podcasters, regular radio listeners, regular stream watchers, we like this so much. We tell people about it, and so keep doing that.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.